as an agent, I recruited a lot of athletes over my years. This was one of the easiest recruiting pitches. It was amazing the reception that everyone had, and we were able to really put together an incredible group of civic and business leaders that's diverse and just are exceptional people, and truly inspiring. And having Sheila Ford Hamp and Mary Barra and Grant Hill and Chris Webber and Denise Illich and Ethan Davidson, representation of the family that owned it before, a fantastic group. And Jared is civic minded and wants to be involved in the community, along with his wife. They're both very involved and want to be involved in interesting projects that make a difference in Detroit. And I started out with Ryan Tellem, his agent, who I know. I tried to recruit him to join me one time many years ago, but they were in immediately. They just loved the idea, and I think it's a natural for Jared just because, and for a lot of athletes, because they love sports. They know what sports means to a community, how sports brings people together, and so it's a perfect partnership with Jared.
Years ago in an op-ed, you said you're going through a transition from a player agent to a change agent, and
he gave me that name. Tom gave me that name.
Okay, great.
He said you're no longer super agent, you're now a change agent. Okay. And so it's reoriented how I even think. And but I think we couldn't do this without Tom's vision, his leadership, his support, incredible support. And encouraging me to go out there and make these kind of things happen.
The hope is that these women will play at Little Caesars Arena, but looking at building a new practice facility, where is the conceptualization of that? Any neighborhoods you guys are looking at? How would that further change?
We're going through the process with the mayor of identifying several, we have several sites that we've seen, and we're looking at more, but there's some really good sites where we could build this. And our idea is not only to build a women's facility equal to what the Pistons have, because that was really important to the WNBA, was to have a facility that's equal to the men's. They didn't want the women to take a back seat to the men or a professional NBA team, which we understand and agree with. And it's to give them a great facility, and which will also be a community asset. And we're hoping to, behind that, to build this youth academy that can be used by the schools in Detroit and for AAU sports and club sports to provide equitable access of facilities for the youth of Detroit, equal to the facilities that they have in the suburbs.
Houston, Tennessee, Philadelphia, how do you think this bid stacks up when you're looking at only one more spot available potentially for this 2028 WNBA timeline?
Look, we know it's going to be super competitive. These are all great cities, and everyone's putting their best foot forward. And our goal, when I spoke to Tom originally, was to put our best foot forward. And to me, in putting our best foot forward was to show them the strength of Detroit, which is all the great people here working together. And I don't think any city has a bid like that has this broad-based, diverse ownership group that just embodies excellence. And so I think that's a distinguishing factor that I hope is meaningful in the end as the WNBA makes their decision. But look, it's going to be competitive. Adam Silver made the comment, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when Detroit will get a team ultimately. We're hoping it's sooner than later. But I think we put our best foot forward, and credit to Tom, credit to this ownership group, credit to what everyone in this ownership group has done for the city, and credit to the incredible fan support. To me, that's another factor. Detroit supported the Shock. The Shock was among the leaders in attendance when it was here. The fan support here will be there and I think the WNBA and the NBA knows that. And the fact that we have this broad-based ownership group is indicative of the kind of support this team will have.
You are right, the fans love the Shock. Yeah. If you look at the paper and the trademarks that have been filed, it's not easy to deny that people want the Shock back. Is that plan A right now, to do this under the Detroit Shock name? Is that the hope? I
think, I don't want to get too far ahead. I mean, clearly that's something we would think about. And it may very well be, if we were able to get the team, that's where the name ends up. But we'll see. We'll see what the ownership group thinks and what Tom thinks. But we really haven't discussed that. We're just trying to protect And the league is trying to probably to protect all the rights possible so we have as many options as we can.
Your most prolific client, Kobe Bryant, was very involved in championing the WNBA and women's basketball. When you look back on your relationship with him, do you take anything from that and his impact into this venture?
The growth of women's sports has been extraordinary, and I really think it's the right moment, right time, right now, and I think Detroit's the right place to capture it. But I think what's interesting is that players like Kobe always had incredible respect for the great women athletes, whether it was in basketball or in soccer. And when I was an agent leading our practice, we had a phenomenal women's sports practice. We represented Mia Hamm, we represented most of the top WNBA players, and all these women were extraordinary. And I'll say, and not only just great athletes, but were extraordinary ambassadors. And that to me is one of the most exciting things about bringing the WNBA here, because no disrespect to the men, the women go above and beyond in trying to make connections, meaningful connections with everyone they meet. They are the greatest ambassadors as athletes going into the community. And I know if we're able to have a team, they'll make that kind of unbelievable impact in Detroit that will be meaningful for young people, be meaningful for our community, and will make just a great impact for the city.